I would say that what we've created are raving fans for the association. And because we are a collegial community that cares about each other and is helpful to each other, when somebody new comes into the community as a club professional, if they don't know anything about CMAA, they're told, you really need to join CMAA because the value is there. And so at the local level, we have state chapters and obviously members. And that's really where all the recruiting happens. And at a national level, yes, we have support and that type of thing, but there's really no advertising for the association. There's no outbound calling or sending materials. If a new member comes in, we send them a welcome kit. We have a 12-month process to assimilate them into the association. We have a quarterly Zoom call for new members so they get to know national. And so we really spend a lot of time helping them understand the value and helping them to start make connections. And once they realize that that community is going to help them, they're raving fans. And so we say internally that our members bleed CMA blue, which is our color.
This is Associations Thrive, the podcast celebrating successful associations and their leaders. I'm your host, Joanna Pineda, CEO and Chief Troublemaker at Matrix Group International. Listen in as top association executives tell all, revealing the creative and innovative ways they're increasing membership, generating revenue, nurturing engagement, and reimagining their organizations. By the way, if you've launched a new initiative, created new member services, or updated your governance structure and are seeing great results, I want to hear your story, and so do my listeners. I'd love to have you as a guest. Go to podcast.matrixgroup.net and apply to be on Associations Thrive. Now let's dive into this week's show. Today, I'm speaking with Jeff Morgan, President and CEO of Club Management Association of America, or CMAA. Jeff, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much. I'm delighted to be here and look forward to our conversation.
Hey, Jeff, tell us about CMAA.
Well, CMAA we're 99 years old. We were formed in 1927, and our focus has been about member-owned clubs. So member-owned clubs are golf clubs, yacht clubs, city clubs. We have a couple race courses that are private clubs or member-owned clubs, a couple ski areas. So as an association, that's our membership, and we do education and create community and just advance professionalism within the club management profession.
Why do we even have private clubs in America?
Well, ironically, private clubs, we are part of the IRS nonprofit code, C7s, and it allows people to congregate with like people. So back in the 1900s, it really goes back to England, where there were clubs in England, but in the United States, they were formed where women wanted their own clubs and men wanted their own clubs, and religions, Jewish people wanted their own to be with their own, and Catholics. So that's sort of where it started. Where we are today is actually, ironically, there's more women-only clubs than men-only clubs because, just how we've evolved, and that's fine. But today, what was that 100 years ago now are very family-focused places that are like resorts in your hometowns for many folks, or places where professionals in cities want to congregate.
Jeff, give us a sense of scale. How many clubs are there in America?
We have about 3,500 clubs, of which largely there's probably 4,000 to 4,500 private clubs in America. The largest ones are all members of our association. About 80% of ours are golf. The rest are the other ones that I mentioned. We're about a $15 million organization. We have about 9,000 professionals for 3,500 clubs. And those professionals cut across from the general manager, the chief operating officer, CEO, to communications professionals and club chefs and folks focused on sports and all sorts of different pieces of the club.
Now, Jeff, when we started recording, I actually screwed up the name of the association. I called you the Club Managers Association of America, but you're now the Club Management Association of America. So why the change, and when did that happen?
Yeah, so I came in about 2014, and one of the things that have been talked about for a while is, are we truly still the Club Managers Association, or as clubs have become more sophisticated, should we expand to be more of an umbrella association? And while we have other association verticals like PGA for our golf professionals or superintendents for people that take care of the grass and the like. But ultimately, we were seeing communications people, membership folks,
Ah,
more sophisticated CFOs, chefs. And so by creating a club management association, we now have smaller communities within our membership that we do events and education for those particular verticals within the club management profession. Hence, the name makes us have a bigger tent.
so really it's all the people within the clubs that have anything to do with running the club. So they could be in communications, facilities, or an executive.
Correct.
Ah,
But our goal is still the same: education, professional development, community where we can share, and professionalism in what we do as a career.
all right. Well, we get a lot to talk about when it comes to CMAA, but let's turn to your journey. How do you get to become president and CEO of CMAA?
Well, like many of my peers in associations, this is my fourth association, and I started in an insurance association in Alexandria and then moved from there to it was professional, moved to a trade association. It was more Wall Street oriented, went back to professional and dealt with financial communications in public companies and ended up here. I was across the street and ended up walking across King Street to take this job. And largely, I would say probably the common theme, while very, very different industries, a lot of dealing with people that have higher incomes
Hmm.
at the underlying space. And I ended up being a bit of a turnaround or taking sleepy associations and accelerating them. My prior association, I started right at 2008 when the financial downturn happened, and we had to change the profession from just being people that could communicate really well to people that really understood the financials in public companies. And when I came into CMAA, I ironically replaced a 25 years CEO, and he came from the industry or the profession, did a great job for the profession. But as an industry professional, I just looked at things very differently. And there's been opportunities for the past 12 years everywhere I look, and they continue. And so we've really accelerated the growth and purpose of the association. And it's been an awesome journey.
Jeff, what was it like to take your first chief staff exec job? And when was that?
Well, that was back 2008. And because we went into the recession or the Great Recession there, it was a little bit stressful. So you learn to work in an environment that has a lot of fires burning. And I would say that has probably served me well
Hmm.
from 2008 to now, almost 20 years, because we've gone through a lot, from changes in the world to changes in profession to just the world accelerating that much more quickly and the association having to be that much more nimble. So while at the time it may not have been fun, it was a great way to change my mindset to be much more progressive in how the association has moved forward, both my last two.
So sometimes I find that when you have a CEO who takes over from a longtime CEO, that it can go badly because they've got a different perspective and the organization is sort of entrenched in how they do things. So how'd you handle that over at CMAA? Especially if they're beloved, right? Then it's like sacred almost what they've done.
Yeah, it was funny because when I interviewed for it, I really came in and said, I think this is wrong. I think this is wrong. I looked at the metrics for operating metrics and I was like, you're way out of whack with what the norm is. And, I was somewhat critical, and I really expected them to not want me back. When we got done with the first interview, the folks on the team said, "Oh, thank you very much. We're so appreciative of your honesty and integrity and what you saw." And then I got back and the recruiter called me and she said, "You're the top candidate."
Wow.
So that was what they were looking for. And it worked for me because my belief is you're interviewing, but you're also interviewing them. And if you see things and you can't be honest and transparent in what you're seeing, that probably isn't the organization for you. So I just happened to hit at the right time. And I would say that, like anybody who is replacing a long-term CEO, the first few years, you got to get credibility. and build off of that credibility, and
Hmm.
not only internally with your team, but also externally with the members. And I went around on a listening tour like so many CEOs do and spent a lot of time listening to members. What I found out very quickly was the word of mouth in CMAA is very quick. If I had a conversation in Chicago and then was in Atlanta, they all knew what I said when I was in Chicago. So to
Wow.
some degree, that worked in my favor just because you get that ball rolling down the hill and it rolls quicker and quicker. So one conversation moved into another conversation, and I did very well, and the successes were received very well from the membership, and the rest is history, as they say.
Well, so hang on. You have private clubs that might compete with each other, and yet it sounds like there's a strong network between them, such that there's almost this wildfire communications between them. So, like something you say in Chicago is now in Atlanta a couple days later. How does that work? You've got clubs competing for memberships. These aren't necessarily inexpensive memberships.
No, some of them are very expensive, as a matter of fact. So, ironically, clubs don't see themselves as competitors with each other, even though there may be a dozen clubs in the
Hmm.
Washington, D.C. area or Chicago area. They see that we have a culture and a product that we're offering to those folks that are interested. So, because of that, our members are very open with each other. They share whatever anybody needs, they will share with each other. And ironically, CMAA is the home of that. I mean, we are at the core of that sharing. We do it at all our events, many of our education programs. You're really trying to build, not only give them education, but build connection with each other. And those are lifelong connections. So when you reach a point in your career where you've been in club management for 20 or 25 years, you probably have hundreds of people that you can pick up the phone from anywhere with any issue or email or whatever else. And so it really is just such a collegial and helpful community and supportive of each other, which is really makes it nice to run the association because people are grateful for what the association does to help them.
Boy, it sure sounds like it. So let's turn to CMAA. How is membership?
Membership is really, really good. We had about 6,000 members when we were in COVID. So that's about 5 years ago. We're now at 9,000 members.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you. And there's a couple reasons for that. One is clubs realized coming out of COVID that they needed to create better work-life balance for their teams because a lot of times club folks are working when other people are playing. So in order to create that work-life balance, we needed to increase staff so that people can have a weekend off or whatever. But as well, we went into COVID with about 15% of private clubs or member clubs having wait lists, members trying to join the club. We rose to about 60% during COVID, and we're still at about 50% of clubs having waiting lists. So it has allowed clubs to not only be more healthy financially, it has allowed them to raise fees. And there's a physical asset to a club, and it's like a car. You got to continue to put money into it and make sure your golf course is at the premium or increase the fitness area or add new racket sports like pickleball or padel. And so clubs have really done that, and that has created energy for more people to be interested in joining. So we've been in a real positive period that COVID started.
Wow. Jeff, talk to me about this. So why was COVID so good for private clubs and for the association?
I hate to say COVID was good for us, but it was an accelerant. And partly it was due to the fact that we as an industry figured out ways to keep, for instance, the golf course open. So about 80% of our members have golf courses, and there was a lot of concern about spread of COVID. And we worked to create an environment that largely in many states would allow us to stay open. So we moved food from inside to outside and used our outside areas. We created takeout for the time so that people could get food on a takeout basis. And ultimately, I think people felt that if I'm around people that I know and people that I trust, chances of getting COVID are much less. And the vast majority of clubs did not lay off people, figured it out. The members continued to pay dues. About 50% of our revenue in clubs comes from dues, and about 50% goes to paying for staff. So the model worked as opposed to hotels and restaurants that had to close. We never closed. we figured out a way. And again, the community, if somebody had a great idea, they pass it along to somebody else. So we as a community really leveraged each other. And while we're all independent, we work together to make it work. And COVID really created some new things for us. For instance, we used to do newsletters by a paper that we would give to our members. And now all of that is email with embedded videos and things like that. So we learned a lot during COVID and we learned to adapt.
Jeff, that's extraordinary. You said something really interesting during the prep, and you said, Joanna, we have no membership sales. So you've gone from 6,000 to 9,000 members without any recruitment or outbound recruitment. How are you doing this? Please share the secret.
Yeah, I wish it was something I could replicate in any association, but I would say that what we've created are raving fans for the association. And because we are a collegial community that cares about each other and is helpful to each other, when somebody new comes into the community as a club professional, if they don't know anything about CMAA, they're told you really need to join CMAA because the value is there. And so at the local level, we have state chapters and obviously members. And that's really where all the recruiting happens. And at a national level, yes, we have support and that type of thing, but there's really no advertising for the association. There's no outbound calling or sending materials. If a new member comes in, we send them a welcome kit. We have a 12-month process to assimilate them into the association. We have a quarterly Zoom call for new members so they get to know national. And so we really spend a lot of time helping them understand the value and helping them to start make connections. And once they realize that that community is going to help them, they're raving fans. And so we say internally that our members bleed CMA blue, which is our color. So it's really special.
I bet some of this is replicable. So tell me about the 12-month onboarding plan. That sounds amazing.
Yeah. So we send a kit. It's a box, and it includes various CMA...
Some swag.
Some various CMA swag. Yes, we all have swag. We have an online store with CMA merchandise, and it's ironically a virtual store. So you order anything and they create it, so you have that. But ultimately, each month you get a snippet of a piece of the association, whether it's certification or whether it's our webinars or whether it's the magazine or whether it's the other publication. So
is that an email that goes out once a month specifically for new members?
Yeah, it's a specific email with new members. And then we have a quarterly new member Zoom. So we invite all of them there. Part of our membership committee, our volunteer membership committee participates in that, but we go around from staff and we talk about what we do. And then we break out into smaller groups and help them learn about the association as well as understand what they're looking for. And through that, it largely creates a lot of stickiness for the association, and we lose folks. The folks that we lose are largely moving out of the profession, not if you're staying in the profession, you want to belong.
So what I'm hearing is that there's a very intentional process of welcoming new members and lots of opportunities for them to get to know the association and meet other members.
Correct. Absolutely. And at the local level, our chapters have local events and they encourage, come on, I'll be your buddy. Come on to this event. So this community aspect of our association is so strong that we welcome outsiders into the fold and everybody wants to help them succeed.
Well, you also said that there's kind of a culture of idea sharing. When and where does that happen?
Well, probably the coolest thing that as a new CEO, when I came in, I was a bit aghast when I saw it. We have poster boards, and we're up to about 125 to 150 this past year of poster boards with people's best ideas. And we do categories.
Wait, this is at conference?
This is at conference, yes. And so people go around and have the ability to look at all those poster boards, and they're ranked and ultimately awards are given for them for the best idea. We capture all those, and then they're online and available to the membership to look through. So if I'm doing a new member wine event, I can look and see ideas. I want to do some sort of children's event. I can look and see ideas. And it used to be back in the day that Everybody had to print their own board and bring it to conference. Now we tell them to send us a PDF, and then we have the PDF for historical purposes, but we print the PDF on a poster board.
Oh, so you make it easy.
Yeah, we make it very easy for them, and it looks much like what you did in high school.
Yeah, with the science fairs.
Yeah, with the science fairs, but people spend hours going through there and taking pictures and
Ah.
looking at ideas and seeing who put the idea in and then going and talking to that person. So what I looked at when I originally started and was like, oh, wow, this seems very outdated, is part of the secret sauce to continue to accelerate those community connections.
And members love it.
Members love it.
Wow. What do you do with all of these ideas online that I'm able to access them?
We categorize them. So you're able to go in by the categories, and the categories could be golf events. It could be children's activity or youth activity. It could be an activity related to environment, could be operations and clubhouse operations, various categories. So within club management, there's 12 competencies that we focus on. And so they're somewhat aligned to those.
Well, speaking of competencies, you've got an online textbook, which I read about on the website, and you've got a certification. So is that tied to the 12 competencies, and how does that work?
Yeah, so the certification is some 60 years old, and we are a little bit unique in our certification because you not only test, but you're required to take a certain amount of classes, education, and then there's a continuing education requirement. But the classes you take are these week-long programs, and again, there's content related to that, but also it builds community. And so you're building that mastermind group along the way. And if you go to multiple of these, which you're required to before you test, you really have a strong community. But the textbook, we originally developed it back pre-2000. This is the third edition, and we've stopped doing hard copies. It's now electronic, and it's with a publisher that is similar to what universities do or use. We have some 40 student chapters in universities, so it aligns with teaching of club management in universities for those that have a hospitality program. But by using this online facility, it allows us to update a chapter very quickly, and places like technology are changing dramatically. Actually, the sports world is changing dramatically. So it allows us to update it, but it also has AI embedded. So a professor could use it to create a PowerPoint or help to use it to generate questions to do quizzes. So we're trying to keep up with where the world is going. This is part of our certification. It's used globally. Our certification, we license globally. And so this is the core body of work of the 12 competencies on club management.
And Jeff, do you get a certification based on your role or club management period?
Club management. So it's a CCM, Certified Club Manager.
Okay.
We probably will start doing certificate programs for the communications professionals and things like that. But right now, we just have this core certification.
Okay, now you said something really interesting. You said that the certification is global. So how does that work, and is your membership global?
So our membership is US based, and I can't take credit. It would go to the prior CEO who had a vision that they could see club management was a global profession. So they helped to foster, and we even gave some seed money to create like a European association. There are peer associations in Europe, Canada, South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, throughout Asia, and folks license the certification. So we get a per head fee for people attending classes, and then they can take the certification. So the CCM is a global standard. Our chief learning officer actually travels around the country to ensure that the instruction is consistent across the world. And that is part of what we do for our licensing fee. Ironically, one of the other cool things we've done is if you take a certification program outside the US, we will allow you to come to our World Conference free, but you get education only. So you can absorb the education content. If you want the food and other activities, you have to pay for it. So we changed that shortly after I started, and we grew the international or global attendance from about 2 to 3% to around 15%. because
Wow.
everybody wants to come to conference now. And our thought was if you come once, you'll probably come back. And so it has helped to increase that revenue too. And because we're partners and we share our education with our global partners, again, it's this community aspect that we've created this global community. And we've seen a lot more professionals move around the world to different parts of the world. So ultimately, our certification and CMAA and our other associations that are out there are part of that success of them in their profession.
And has that proven to be true that if you come once, you come again?
Absolutely. Because people are addicted to not only good education, but also to be with their peers. Like many professions, nobody understands you except people that are in that profession. We say that in associations.
Right, right.
Nobody understands what association professionals do. So we love to be with our peers. So they come back and it's awesome.
I bet it's because if you run a golf club in Japan, you have more in common with someone who runs a golf club in America than another profession in Japan.
You do. The US is probably the leader in club management just because we have larger facilities. We have clubhouses and we have rackets and children's activities and more sophisticated with our food options and the like. But ultimately, it is still club management. And somebody from Asia or Europe coming to the US will learn something and be able to take it back and apply it. And while clubs really grew up in Europe and there's a lot of golf, history of golf is Scotland and stuff, they love coming and absorbing what we're doing because they see that as a leading trend and they can pick and choose what they might be able to use.
Jeff, before we go, you said something very meaningful about CMAA and your membership, and you said the club is more than a facility. Talk to us about that. I bet that's really fueled your growth.
Yeah, so I would say for our 95 years, we all have facilities. So whether it's a building or whether it's a golf course or rackets, or we even have some race courses, private ski areas, private beaches, it's always something physical. And coming out of COVID and the fact that we had to adapt very quickly, we realized that it's not the facility, it's the people. And so if we keep the people connected, you can celebrate and use your club wherever you are. So through videos in a club, you may do a wine dinner and the members can dial in or zoom in to be part of that wine dinner. You may have a lecture and the members can zoom in regardless of where they are, or maybe it's recorded. We may have a horticulturist on our staff, and so they can do a lesson about taking care of your plants. So everything that's in a club, we're using video and sharing that either live or recorded out with our members through member publications. And the club is always available to you, whether it's a cardio class or a exercise stretching class. So it's pretty cool. And, that has, I'm sure, accelerated the growth in folks being interested in clubs because many people have summer homes and you go to your summer home. And so you still get use of the club, even though you're at your summer home.
Man, I love this. So it sounds like a member might come for the facility, the courses, but stay for the people.
Yep. Again, community is ingrained in everything we do, whether it's the member of the clubs, whether it's CMAA with our membership. That is the secret sauce for both of us, is about creating community and exceptional experiences for our members, whether it's be education or for our members, hospitality or sports. It's all about creating exceptional experiences.
Okay, one more question before we go. There are private ski clubs?
There's one in Tahoe they have their own mountain.
What?
And ironically, as opposed to, if you belong to a club, you can store your golf clubs at the club. Here you store your skis at the club. And so you just show up and go up the mountain and you have a private area. And when you come down,
They have their own mountain.
they do. And ironically, there's a public mountain on the other side, but the private club has all the water, has this huge excess of water. So they actually allow the public club to use some of their water to create snow when they need to. So they have a really symbiotic relationship between the two entities.
Jeff, I've learned so much today. We'll have to have you back because I'm sure by next year you'll have done some new and interesting things and you'll have grown again. Thank you for the interview today.
Thank you so much for inviting me, and it's always great to share and be part of a bigger association community as well.
Thanks for listening to Associations Thrive. We're so glad to have you here. You know, my personal mission and the mission of my company, Matrix Group International, is to help associations and nonprofits increase membership, generate revenue, and thrive in the digital space. I want to hear stories of how your organization is thriving in today's challenging landscape. Please apply to be on my show by going to podcast.matrixgroup.net. By the way, do you need help with a digital initiative? Maybe it's a website redesign, a new membership database, or a hybrid meeting that you're planning. I'd love to connect with you. Please visit the Matrix Group website at matrixgroup.net. Thanks again for listening to this week's episode of Associations Thrive. Don't forget to subscribe to the show, leave a 5-star rating, post a comment, and share it with your colleagues and friends.